Hey all, Zook here, back with part 6 of the All Bosses Damageless run of Scholar of the First Sin. Now, this is going to be the one where we get to fight the Rotten a whole bunch of times. So, if you remember last time, we had just gotten fall control and stats to be able to use it. So we immediately come over to the pit, and just to the left of this red patch on the ground, we're going to walk straight off. Cast fall control first, obviously, and just follow the same path that I take down. I grab 3 poison moss from that third corpse, and then switch to the rapier so that when I sprint off, I can do a plunging attack. Doing the plunging attack, make sure that you don't accidentally roll off that ledge. And then drop down here for the homeward bone. And now just come over here. There's a crystal lizard. Crystal Lizard takes 5 shots of the wood arrows, or if you do a jumping rapier attack, that should actually one-shot it, but I'm not good enough to get that consistently. So shoot that first Bob-omb guy, and come over here, grab the shards, shoot the next Bob-omb, and then grab a couple homeward bones, and shoot the last Bob-omb. There it is. And cast fall control again. It shouldn't have run out at this point, but you can always cast it again just to be extra safe. And then as you go through the poison statues, it's either the 4th one on the right side, or if you just run this path that I do, where you kind of aim straight for that poison statue and just cut on its right side. The poison spitters shouldn't hit you, but again, it's the 4th statue on the right if you want to just break the statues. I'm going to come down here, buy a little bit of time by lighting the bonfire, grabbing these dung pies, and then casting fall control. By doing all of that, the torch hollow that's on the bridge that we're about to go across, let's see, this torch hollow should be facing the other way because you bought enough time. And then I go for the risky, well, air quotes, risky drop. I do this drop specifically because the 2 guys in this building that we're running through, the 2 guys in that building before the ladder aren't going to aggro if you do the drop that I did. If you do the normal drop that a bunch of other people do, where you like back step off of you like run through the building, drop off the ledge, back step, and then go back around. If you know what I'm talking about, that other strat is going to aggro the 2 guys. They still shouldn't hit you, but you come over here, climb up the huge ladder, grab the 2k soul, and then kill that torch guy, take the zipline across, cast fall control again, and equip the bow, run on through the area, shoot this guy on the bridge, and shooting this guy behind you. Then you're going to go towards the bug den and then stop at this sconce right before the bug den. Aim right above the item, and so the item in the urn, you aim right above it and shoot an arrow, and it should hit the Babam guy that's back there. You can actually even do that shot from the rope bridge. But now at this point, cast fall control one more time after grabbing the poison arrows, and then we grab some items on the way down, 2 more dung pies, and some rotten pine resins that we'll use for the smelter demons. And then don't need this great club, so I just throw the skull. Come over here and grab dark fog. And the skull distracted the guy that was right in front of these corrosive urns that I just ran through. But that is the gutter. And now you're down at Black Gulch. Now, this is the nastiest forlorn in the whole entire run, in my opinion, just because it's the only one that you really have to deal with. Um, Best option is just cast Fall Control right now, these two statues, and run attack on this third one, and now would have been when the Forlorn invades. If you make it past that statue, at this point I'm like, okay, I'm safe, so I take my time. If you want a strategy for this forlorn, I think that what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make a video at the very end of all of this that kind of details how to go through all the forlorn strategies. But as you can see, because I had the time, I shot those two, what are they called, the hand enemies. Shot the two fire pools, well, sorry, set the two pools on fire. I didn't bother setting the third pool on fire just because every once in a while you can get lucky and one of those enemies will drop a chunk or a large shard. So I try to keep that middle pool open in case I get an item there. But cast Fall Control, run off the edge towards Grandel. And then you're going to come down here to kill the giants. Try to conserve your poison arrows if possible. And if you use crossbow bolts will do a lot more damage than the arrows. I think crossbow bolts do like 100 some damage as opposed to this 14 nonsense that you're seeing. So I actually, just because this is going to take like 3 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to the point where the giants are dead. Alrighty. So now that the giants are gone and you've got the forgotten key, one thing that I noticed was that the woodland child didn't invade me when I dropped down. Seems like maybe a third of the time the woodland child won't invade you when you drop down. If that is the case, we want to proc this first invasion from the woodland child. It takes a bit longer to do it this way, but it is safer. And so I'm going to shoot these two tar pools. And you see the bone grayed out when I stepped out onto the edge. So Woodland Child Gully. And they'll gesture. I accidentally shot too early, which actually made Gully go back towards the boss fog. As long as you hit him, if you hit him once, then typically he will try to come towards you. The good thing is, because it's Gully, as far as I can tell, won't get perma-stuck by the boss fog. Victor will every once in a while. And it doesn't happen often, but if Victor gets stuck by the boss fog, your best bet is to run back towards Grandel's den or whatever you want to call it. You would have to cast Fall Control one more time. But you would want to basically jump off the ledge like we're going to do, but instead of running towards the boss fog, you would want to run over towards Grandel's den, drop back down there, because at that point, Victor should be aggroed onto you, and then you'd be able to just kind of drop down the exact same route that you just went on, come back up the elevator here, and then you'd be able to kill him. But luckily, we had Gully, so we don't have to worry about that. And as you can see, I'm just kind of peppering him with arrows. if you have iron arrows and if you have heavy bolts, or even any sort of crossbow bolts, if you decide to buy wood bolts, they do a lot more damage than the wooden arrows. So it does make this go a little bit quicker if you have better ammo. But as soon as he's dead, I'm going to immediately jump out before the homeward bone. Well, I should have jumped back out before the homeward bone even wind up. If you wait too long, the other woodland child can still invade while you're up on the ledge. After you're down from the ledge, I've never had the woodland child invade the second one. So we break these statues and just go straight to the rotten. You can, again, if you don't have the second invader, you can go get the bonfire at this point, just for the quickness aspect of it. You'll see here in a second that just to kind of make the second boss fight a little bit quicker and easier to get to, I'm just going to go get the bonfire after the first rotten. So essentially doing 2 rottens before we reset this area. Or completely reset it, I should say. As far as the rotten boss fight, I mean, try to lock off him and hit his arms if possible. But really, the one thing that I always do, you see the statue on the left side of the screen that... Let's see if it pops back up in this fight. But there was a statue on the left side of the screen that I always use to orient myself into a safe place for if he does this explosion. That statue on my left side, that's what I personally use to kind of make sure that I'm in a safe spot where I can roll backwards twice. And just as long as you kind of don't strafe around too much left and right, you should be fine. It just kind of gets into a little bit of trouble if you have all the statues behind you, or the boss fog behind you, or the fire pit behind you. Basically, if you don't have your back to the specific wall that I have my back to, there's just some bad things that might happen. But, I mean, hopefully if you're doing this run, you've had enough practice with the rotten that you have your own strats. And basically, I'm just kind of filling up time. But yeah, so at this point, we are going to get the bonfire, burn the ascetic, and you'll notice that because we did the first rotten and cleared all of those statues, just resting at this bonfire and burning the ascetic isn't going to respawn those spitting statues. So, like I'd mentioned before, it does actually make the run up a little bit quicker and especially easier, less stressful, a lot less stressful. And actually, I believe that this was the run where, for whatever reason, Victor didn't invade me here, which has happened like once or twice before, but I don't know. Don't know why that happened, but I used that gold pine resin, the one that should have been used for Najka, just to make this fight go a little bit quicker. Because this actually, in my opinion, is a slightly harder boss fight than Rotten 3 that we're going to eventually do. Just because when we eventually go to do Rotten 3, we'll have leveled up a whole bunch and it'll be a bit more trivial. So that's why I used the resin for this one. But yeah, I mean, pretty straightforward Rotten Junior fight. Just trying to get in and punish any time that he's swiping across his body from the left or from the right, doesn't matter. If he does any slam attacks, you can roll into him. But yeah, definitely a rotten fight. And yep, finish that second rotten up, and now we're going to primal out. And the nice thing about using the primal bonfire is that when we eventually use a homeward bone here in just a second, it is going to bring us back to the Black Gulch bonfire as opposed to this primal one. So now that he's done, we are back in Majula. We're going to pop the souls that we collected down here, and we're going to level up some more. Specifically, we're going to get intelligence to 19 so that we can cast Yearn. We're going to get adaptability to 28. That's going to get us 105 agility, which is actually the last iframe that we level for in the game. We're going to get dexterity to 40 and attunement to 16. The attunement's going to give us 3 spell slots, which is going to let us have Fall Control, Yearn, and Shockwave, or eventually Homeward. Then we're going to come over here to Lemongrass and buy some more arrows for good measure. We're going to buy 4 Titanite shards. That's going to let us upgrade the rapier to +5 and the bow to +3. Well, the bow to +3. And then you'll also want to buy a spear here if you haven't already bought a spear. That's going to help us deal with the Forlorn and the Lost Bastille. And I actually forget to buy the spear right now, so I'm going to come back at the very end of the video and get that spear. Then finishing up, we'll buy some bright bugs from Malentia, and then drop down into the pit again to get the Dragon Talon, the DLC 1 key. So exact same route, cast that Fall Control to the left of the red stain, not the blood stain, the iron ore stain, or the rust stain, whatever it is. Dropping down. If you didn't have that poison moss from before, grab it at this point. And then again, use the forgotten key here. Dragon Talon and Witch Tree equipment. So again, those 2 catalysts. Note that the Witch Tree branch does have the fastest casting speed out of all catalysts, so that's what we're going to use for every single thing that we do with sorceries except for Alana. But since we did the Homeward Bone, we come back here to Black Gulch without having to rest at another bonfire. So we just burned that 3rd ascetic, and now it's time for Roddy Rottenton III. He told me before that he prefers to go by Rot with 2 T's. And again, just kind of go through this fight. I mean, if you have an extra resin, if for whatever reason, if you already bought gold pine resins from Vengarl and the Shaded Woods, or if you have extra aromatic oozes that you want to burn through, go ahead and use them. I'm pretty sure that for Rotten, it's everything but fire is effective against him, I'm pretty sure. And I can look that up right now as we are watching me beat up on Roddy. Let's see. Yeah, so he's got low resistance to lightning, medium resistance to fire and magic, and then high resistance to dark. Okay, fair enough. But as you can see, just keeping that stature on my left side, like I just did actually, to make sure that I can roll backwards twice without getting hit by the explosion. And just did it again. And there you go. Rotten is done. We don't bother coming back for a fourth Rotten in this round, just because since we have to do all the bosses, we're just going to get some of the other bosses done before we head to Drain Lake. But now from here, we are going to go to DLC 1 and grab the first bonfire from there. You won't want to go any further than the first bonfire right now, since you don't have urine to make the areas easier. That actually is going to be the next thing that we do, is we are going to pick up some of those sorceries. We're going to go to No Man's Wharf, talk to Carillion, and beat the Flexile Sentry in the next one. But again, at this point, we're just kind of running through picking up this first bonfire. I guess if you really wanted to, you can kind of safely, I believe, use an Illyrian Skull to deal with the building full of Sanctum soldiers. I know that urine works on them. I'm pretty sure that Illyrian Skulls do. So I suppose that you could spare an extra skull against them, but I don't think that's worth it at this point, because all that you'd be doing is just trying to get the Flynn's Ring, which honestly you really don't need it at this point. So I go grab those old growth balms there just because when I'd routed this before, I'd run into problems where my strength was too low to wield the old Knight Hammer for Skeleton Lords in about an hour. So you might need those old growth balms if you don't have strength. But yeah, at this point, warp to No Man's Wharf, and in the next video, we will run through this area. So I will catch you in the next one. And actually, I guess before then, I will go ahead and keep the footage in of me getting the spear, just so that it is kind of a continual clip, and you can kind of see all of this. Keep me honest, but yeah, I will go ahead and catch you in the next one.